You know that feeling we're all chasing? That perfect trip, the one that's a real escape, a genuine discovery. But in a world where it seems like everyone's just going to the same handful of places, how do you find an experience that feels like it's actually yours? Well, let's get into that. I mean, you've been there, right? You see the amazing photos, you book the flight, you're all excited, and then you show up, and you find yourself in a massive crowd surrounded by selfie sticks waiting forever just to get a peek at that famous thing. It feels less like a relaxing vacation and more like, I don't know, a really crowded commute. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. On the left, that's the dream, right? The serene, empty beach you saw on Instagram. But on the right, well, that's the reality. That's the picture taken just a few feet back, showing the hundreds of other people who had the exact same dream. And that gap between the two, that's where the disappointment kicks in.
So what is going on here? This isn't just a case of bad luck. It's a huge global phenomenon. Let's break down the actual problem so we can figure out a better way to travel.
And yep, it actually has a name: over-tourism. It's what happens when a place gets so popular, so loved, that the sheer number of visitors starts to cause real problems. We're talking strain on the locals, damage to the environment, and honestly, a worse experience for everyone, including us, the tourists. And the consequences are pretty serious. It's kind of like loving a place to death. I mean, you lose that authentic feel, historical sites get damaged, and the natural environment suffers. Plus, during peak season, you're dealing with dangerously hot conditions. We're talking up to 45 degrees Celsius in parts of Europe. It all just adds up to a trip that's more stressful than it should be, and it's actually hurting the places we're trying to appreciate. Okay, so that sounds a bit bleak, I know. But here's the good news. There is a much better way. If you're willing to look just a little bit beyond the big-name hotspots, you can find a travel experience that is on a whole other level. This quote just nails it, doesn't it? The whole goal is to find those places that still feel real, places where you can connect with a culture that's actually being lived in, not just put on display for tourists. It's about being a part of something, not just looking at it. So how do you find these spots? Well, some clever travel experts have come up with what they call a not hot list. The idea is super simple. For every super popular, overcrowded destination, there's an incredible alternative that's flying under the radar. So instead of crowded Iceland, picture the wild, icy landscapes of Greenland. Instead of fighting through Prague, why not explore charming Bratislava? You can get the same stunning alpine views in Slovenia as you would in the Alps, but without all the people and the crazy prices. Okay, let's get into some real examples. Let's say you're someone who travels for that deep dive into history, for a real connection with a place. There are some cities out there that are just perfect for you. First up, Sarajevo. This city is truly something special. It's this fascinating crossroads of empires. You can see both Ottoman and Austro-Hungarian history right there on the streets. It's a place that has such a deep and powerful story to tell. And travelers who go there absolutely fall in love with it. They talk about its complex modern history, and you can really get a sense of it at places like the Siege War Tunnel. But they also just rave about how welcoming the people are, the amazing food, you have got to try Borak and Klepe, and these unforgettable sights, like the old abandoned bobsled track from the '84 Olympics. It's a city that really sticks with you. All right, next, let's head north to Tallinn, Estonia. If Sarajevo's draw is its powerful history, Tallinn's is its absolute charm. It honestly feels like you've walked straight into a fairy tale. But on top of that, it's also a really modern city and an amazing value. People who visit just call it a super cute city, perfect for just wandering around on foot. Its old town is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and it's one of the best preserved medieval centers in all of Europe. And get this, Lonely Planet didn't just call it a good deal, they named it the best value destination in the world. In the entire world. That's pretty high praise. Okay, so we've covered culture, but what if you're looking for a bit more of an adrenaline rush? What if you want to trade those cobblestone streets for some rugged mountain trails? Well, this whole off-the-beaten-path approach works just as well for adventure travel. Take trekking, for instance. It's basically just long-distance hiking through some pretty remote and beautiful places. And it's getting so popular, growing by up to 15% a year. It's pretty clear that people are really craving that kind of physical challenge and that sense of being out in the wild, away from it all. So let's use that not hot idea for adventure. Everybody knows about Bali's beaches, right? But what about the island right next door, Lombok? One writer put it perfectly. They said it feels like Bali decades ago.
untouched and untamed. So instead of fighting for a patch of sand, you could be trekking up an active volcano. How cool is that?
And there are so many options like this. In Vietnam, you could be floating on a rowboat through a Ninh Binh, which people call Halong Bay on land. It's just these serene rivers winding through giant limestone mountains. Or you could go to Brunei's Temburong National Park and walk across a canopy bridge, suspended way up high in a pristine ancient rainforest. These are the kinds of experiences you never, ever forget.
And what about the cost of an adventure like that? Check out this number. $4. No, that's not a typo. $4 is the starting price for a hostel bed in Vietnam. It just goes to show you that these incredible, life-changing adventures don't have to cost a fortune. And back in Europe, you've got Slovenia's capital, Ljubljana. It's another one of those cities that travelers describe as a fairy tale. But its real secret is that it's the perfect launch pad for exploring one of Europe's most beautiful and underrated mountain ranges, the Julian Alps. So here's the kicker. You get that epic Alps experience. I'm talking glacial valleys, these incredible emerald green rivers in Triglav National Park, but for way, way less than what you'd pay in Switzerland or France. And because Slovenia is so small, you can have this massive countrywide adventure in less than a week. Okay, so we've seen the problem with overtourism, and we've explored some seriously amazing alternatives for both culture and adventure. So the big question is, how do we actually put this into practice when we're planning our own trips?
It really comes down to 3 pretty simple steps. First, if you absolutely have to go to a popular spot, try going in the off-season. Second, look beyond the capital city. A country's second or third city is often just as cool with way fewer tourists. And third, just make the choice. Actively choose that not hot alternative.
So why does all this matter? Well, because when you travel this way, you stop being just a consumer of tourism. You actually become a participant. You discover real culture, you support smaller local economies, you save money, you avoid stress, and you come home with stories that nobody else has. At the end of the day, choosing the path less traveled isn't about missing out. It's about gaining so much more. The world is so much bigger and more interesting than those top 10 lists. The only question left is, what will you discover?